Hello. I'm This is ClubRico podcast, or the America First Daily News. I'm right wing Rico. Didn't even know I was right wing, but I guess according to my beliefs and things that I talk about, I guess I'm extremely and ultra right wing. So um hearing that some disturbing news just now, I doubt it actually was that. I think it was just um, people we refer to as the Bliggities looking for a reason to stampede and rush the mall. But apparently, there was a shooting at the Katy Mills Mall, or alleged shooting. But I'll be honest, people pretending they're running from something so they can walk into a store, snatch a bunch of free stuff, and leave. It doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility. But we'll see. This only was reported 11 minutes ago, and I mean it's crazy, but it's just another excuse to do whatever you want, to steal, to basically make to kind of just bring society down just a little bit more. But there is some good news on the horizon. For example, the Tate brothers are free. Their case has been dismissed, but also people are starting to show pride again in the Constitution and family. For example, this is a picture of Lauren Boebert and her family. And she's a controversial person because in politics, like other people are starting to do, she's a woman who actually speaks her mind and speaks with reason, speaks with logic. And everyone wants her to fall in line based on her gender. It's the same thing with based on your color. They want you to repeat certain nonsense comments because of the way you look. And that means nothing to anybody with an IQ. I'm sorry. My co-host, her name is Butters, and she's my dachshund, my wiener dog, and she wanted to be on the desk during this, and now she wants to be in the chair. So that was her jumping off and knocking over my phone. Today is Christmas Eve, so early Merry Christmas to everyone. There's not a lot of people doing lives today, so I will be here just to fill the space and talk about anything that I see on social media. So right now, if you look at my tabs, I have Instagram up, YouTube, I have X, I have the New York Daily News, I have Fox News, um, and I just kind of just scroll between everybody and see what people are posting on my timeline. Butters, no more jumping back up here. No, no coming back on the desk. You already went down. Can't come back, Butters. So people they're asking, how does this photo of Lauren Boebert and her family make you feel during Christmas? Why would another person's family picture make you feel any type of way? I'll be honest, I respect and appreciate when people respect our Constitution and appreciate our Constitution. The right to bear arms is constitutionally protected. And that's why I also respect and appreciate people like, for example, Nick Fuentes. His house was just doxxed. A crazy woman showed up. Let's see if we can bring this up. A crazy woman showed up, and she showed up to harass him, and he defended himself against her. That was the first one. And they arrested him because he pepper sprayed some psycho that just popped up at his house. This is a few days later. The same house that was doxxed. This person has a pistol in one hand and a fucking crossbow in the other. Okay, so did they leak that Nick was not only they leaked his address, but they also said that he was a vampire. And I guess this is the new Dollar Tree version of Blade, who shows up to do what? To murder, to unalive Nick Fuentes. This, imagine seeing this on your Ring doorbell. Some deranged person with a helmet on showing up. Why? Okay. Okay. I get that you're a psycho. What's with the crossbow? What in the Van Helsing were you planning on Nick Fuentes? You think he was gonna pop out with gargoyle wings and take off? And like, what was the plan? What were you going to do? Just, but then again, Nick, I don't know, it's crazy to me. I didn't know this. With the way Nick was talking, you have to be smart and understand that you cannot live in certain places. I walk around every day with a MAGA hat on. I have, I had a Trump sign in front of my house. And I'll be honest, I was one of the first people to have a sign up showing I supported Donald Trump. This is before November. And it's crazy. My neighbors are all like older white people. And a few of them came to me like in secret and they were like whispering, like, hey, it's very inspirational that you put your sign up. So we're going to put our sign up too. And I'm like, oh, you guys support Trump? That's great. Why didn't you put up your sign already? And according to them, they were afraid of their house being vandalized. They were afraid of, there's only one like gay couple of guys here. I don't get along with them. We had a big falling out over our dogs, which was weird. And one of them like walked into my garage in the middle of the night. It was weird, but besides that, I don't know who doesn't live a conservative lifestyle over here. Most people over here have families or children, or they're in relationships, they're married. None of them, besides that one couple, nobody's gay. So I mean, there's nobody living a Democrat lifestyle. When I think of politics, I think of you're going to live how you vote, right? So if you're a conservative, it's because you live a conservative way. It's weird. I meet people that are claiming that they're Democrats, but I'm like, yeah, but your two parents were straight. They had conservative sex and they made you. So you come from people that are conservatives who do things conservatives do. You don't come from two women who had some what do they call a butt baby or two men. And so you're not living. I call them dinos. I say that they're Democrats in name only. But there's none of those even over here that I know of. But my neighbors were nervous. But when they seen that my sign was out there and nobody touched it. But then again, I live in Texas. And there are consequences when you vandalize someone's home. And if someone defends their home against you, they're not going to prison. So this is not California. So you can, play that game if you want to. If that's the hill you want to die on, then so be it. Go try to vandalize my house. Go snatch my sign from in front of my house or say something crazy to me. I'm going to take it all as violence. Nick Fuentes had already had his address leaked. There was already some crazy, weird woman that showed up at his house. And I mean, but look at him. I mean, he says things that people might find controversial. I don't. I think it's funny. I mean, people don't understand the right. The Second Amendment is to protect the First Amendment. The First Amendment is the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is not a protection for speech that you find enjoyable. Freedom of speech is not for speech that you find hilarious or speech that you find acceptable or promotes what you're thinking. Let me follow him too. Free speech is supposed to protect the speech that you dislike, the speech that you find abhorrent, the speech that makes you upset and angry. It's not supposed to protect the speech that you like because, well, that speech doesn't need protecting. It's the speech that you don't want to hear. Regardless of what you think about what Nick Fuentes says or not, his speech is a mainstream what people don't want to hear. That's what needs protecting. So I respect people that go out of their way to say things that will piss you off or make you upset. I appreciate it. But if you remove the emotions, there is some truth to what he says. And some things are accurate. A lot of stuff is accurate. I've seen some things that I might not necessarily agree with. He's a little too specific, but then again, that comes with age. With time and experience, your views change. I know mine have from 20 years ago or 10 years ago, 5 years ago till now. 2018, did I give a shit about politics? No. Did I care who's the president? No. Did I appreciate Trump being president? No. I took those times and those days for granted. And then one day in 2020, I have a beautiful little relationship, and me and my girlfriend are on our way to our favorite bar to get a drink and have a good night out. And our favorite bar is now closed because the media did a blitz to convince you that the air is coming for you and you need to stay home and they need to close down businesses, but not the Walmart and not the grocery store, but just places. It's crazy when there is a virus that's so deadly that it only kills business. That gets a little crazy. But that was a different time, and that's a hypothetical scenario I came up with, so YouTube, don't flag me. I'm not giving anybody any information. I'm not giving any medical advice. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just being, I'm just talking about the past and saying what happens when you don't pay attention to politics. I mean, for crying out loud, I was extremely ignorant and idiotic to how things work. Okay, Trump won the election barely a month and a half ago, right? Already, the whole society is changing. Now it's becoming popular to be conservative. Now everyone's not trans anymore. People are saying men should not be able to use women's bathrooms and play in their sports. The trans stuff is coming into question, and people are like, wait a minute, we're not having it. All of a sudden, so for the last several years, we've been dealing with all this craziness because the president back then was supporting it and promoting it. The old president is back. Now everyone's falling in line. I'm like, Jesus, who knew a person in a faraway place like DC could affect what you're doing in your personal life so much that it even matters? I wouldn't have even thought it made a difference. I'm dead wrong. So let me go back to my homepage. So another thing that is horrible for me to report on, but I got to read it to you. We call it the Daniel Penny effect. I don't know if you guys all were familiar with what happened a couple days ago with a migrant who was extremely drunk. He set some poor woman on fire in a fucking subway. And, Bliggities and, Marxists, whoever, a lot of them just stood there and watched. But yet the same people were so mad when this man, Daniel Penny, actually stood in and saved all those people on that train. If you think about it, this could have been the people on that train. What if, I'll be honest with you, if a black man like this, out of his mind, walked onto a subway, and as soon as those doors closed, he just started spraying a flammable liquid on all the passengers. After seeing what Daniel Penny just went through and barely making it out of, I doubt anybody on that train who's not a white male, a straight white male, would do anything about it. They would just sit there because they've been so shamed into submission. They would just sit there, and when he lit that match and threw it on after he sprays this liquid on people, if he would have just lit up a match and threw it, most people would sit there and just let it happen because they don't want to be called let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. They wouldn't want to be called this. A racist. But I shared this today too. Actually, this is probably my first ever collage I made. I made it like, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. I was debating on if I'm going to go live or not. I want to start doing more media and making more content. And I like to do long form stuff. I just got to find like a video editor to kind of, chop things up for me, and so I can make segments out of it. But I sat here for a while just looking at this, and then I watched, there was a video about the person, and they were talking about her family. It's horrible stuff. Some people said she was handicapped also, which means she was in no position to defend herself, which is extremely heartbreaking. But it's better, in my opinion. This is my professional opinion. This is why they call me right wing Rico, which is a shame that this opinion makes me right wing. Then what the fuck? So left wing is you just sit there and be burned alive. Like, if that's the case, you can just call. Look, you see the logo here in the top corner? That's a bald eagle with a headset. That's my new logo I came up with the other night. I actually have a video version of that too that I made with AI. I'd rather just be called racist than to be burned alive. But if you're, if you would rather, if you're a Democrat or you're left wing, then you'd rather be burned alive than to be called racist, which is extremely troubling, in my opinion. I think that's I think it's psychotic. But anyway, let me read what this caption: "The Daniel Penny effect: why no one helped an NYC subway burn victim." No one helped her. Everyone just stood around and just watched this person just go up like Johnny Blaze from the Fantastic Four, and no one did anything. Am I shocked? No, because that's the culture of New York. Daniel Penny is the opposite of the culture of New York, and he almost lost his freedom forever. And I don't know who's going to cover his legal bills, but I know they're not cheap. So shocking footage shows bystanders and even a New York Police Department cop watching as a woman burned to death on a Brooklyn F train. Critics blame the Daniel Penny effect, saying Good Samaritans now fear legal consequences after Daniel Penny's murder trial for stopping a subway threat. Guardian Angels founder Curtis Silva says this: "Nobody came to her aid. People should have been running over to the woman on fire. They're saying to themselves, I don't want to get jammed up like Penny." The suspect, an illegal migrant, Sebastian Zapata Khalil, calmly sat watching the flames before walking away, initially past the responding officers. Only a few days before Christmas. And this is where we are under the current administration. How much of this can be allowed and for how long? I was called a conspiracy theorist. I was called all kind of things. Never to my face, mainly just on the internet. But because I have something called foresight, where I can look at where people are going and see where they will be not too far into the distant future. And I called this. And I was literally kicked off of a lot of my social media channels for talking about things like this. That's why I kind of gave it up, because I was like, maybe I can't talk, but I guess there's a way to do it now where you use code or you're not so direct. But I have some views about how to stop this. However, I'm streaming on YouTube right now, so I'm not going to talk about this topic, but I will show you the picture. Don't forget, you can get free crawfish with your vacation at Grow Propeller on 4035 Washington. Imagine, so Miss Marino, if you traded an experimental drug for food, you should sit this one out. No, I think you should sit in prison. It's my opinion. This podcast is actually called, on, if you're looking at me on Instagram, the Safe and Effective Podcast. But it was really initially called, and it still is in the title, the Klaus Schwab Podcast. And that's just because Klaus Schwab is actually the emperor of the planet Earth as of right now. Everything is being controlled from my research, directly from him down. The World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, all controlled by Klaus Schwab. And then underneath him is George Soros. Everyone should know who he is by now, or I can explain it to you in another video. What the hell is that noise? Everyone should know who Klaus Schwab is by now. And the World Economic Forum, but MK Ultra. how many movies would Matt Damon and Denzel Washington and Bruce Willis, how many different movies have been out since now? Bill Mayer is a very old guy. He's watched every movie. He's in Hollywood. How do you not know what MK Ultra is? This is a strange video. I'll play it so you can hear how this sounds. Let me see here. Where's the volume? There
we go. Google it.
No wonder I don't remember this.
No shit, you blocked it out, MK Ultra.
Who's that?
That's the Mind Patrol program you're under, Bill.
MK Ultra?
Yeah.
So who's Klaus Schwab?
The head of the WEF.
What's that?
Google it.
There's no way you can work in media, be on television, be in Hollywood, have the same access to the internet as everyone else, where you're sharing information. People look to you to learn and have debates based on information in politics and current events. How are you not aware of what the World Economic Forum is, who Klaus Schwab is? If you don't know, Klaus Schwab is who brought us. Okay. Actually, 1 second. Sorry about that. I thought I was hearing something and I was. I forgot my PlayStation 5 is on. We were playing Fortnite and one of my friends joined my lobby and he's like talking through the controller and I'm looking around like, what somebody at my house? I'm like, what is this? Nah, it's just one of my buddies. Anyway, the World Economic Forum controls the world. As far as I can tell, it's the World Economic Forum that's directly they're directly going at Israel. So it's like you think that the United States and Russia, there's a proxy war going on in the Ukraine. You think that's the only one? As far as I can tell, there's a proxy war between the World Economic Forum and the people behind the state of Israel. And they're using intermediaries to attack each other. And it seems like a weird, like a relationship thing where the World Economic Forum wants access to the cabinet and our Congress, but it seems like the World Economic Forum thinks that they have to replace Israel's influence over those same departments in the American government for them to have control over, I guess, those resources, or they influence over the American government and the American arsenal. The World Economic Forum wants what Israel has. Some people think, oh, that's crazy. There's no such thing. Israel has no control, yada, yada. Shut the fuck up. You think the United States was like, you know what? Let's go get rid of Saddam because some Saudi pilots decided to crash 2 airplanes, but those airplanes also made basements. It's just nonsense. Everything that Bibi Netanyahu ever talked about, the U.S. has made happen for him. That's not conjecture or conspiracy. That's literally history. So we can watch that. I'm just saying they have a lot of influence over the United States, and the World Economic Forum wants that same influence without having to negotiate with Netanyahu. So I'm watching a proxy war unfold between them as well. But what it doesn't seem like the World Economic Forum has any access or any control over BRICS nations in the East. So apparently the whole world is when people talk about the world, They're not talking about every country. They're talking about just the countries under NATO, the G7 countries in the West, primarily English speaking countries in the West. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about who the World Economic Forum controls. Their policies, they're pushing the gay agenda, the trans agenda, the social credit. None of that. They want control over those things, but they're not pushing that in Saudi Arabia, Russia. China has their own. China's not doing anything about pollution. They don't believe that there's global warming or any of these, all this other crap and nonsense that's being pushed in the West. They're not telling that to India. They're not telling that to these other big countries who have their own industrial that you need to shut down. They're not saying anything to them. They're only coming after the UK, Canada, the United States. And those are the main big players. They're not even going after South Africa. They're not going after Nigeria because they know certain people are not going to show empathy and humor their nonsense. Humoring too much nonsense is how our country has ended up in a very strange place, to say the least. But that's crazy. How does Bill Maher not know who these people are?
No shit, you blocked it out, MK Ultra.
I mean, he's laughing.
That's the mind control program you're under, Bill.
MK Ultra?
Yeah.
So who's Klaus Schwab?
Okay, for one thing, how are you able to pronounce his name Klaus correctly and Schwab, even if you're just repeating what Roseanne said, but you have no memory of him and you've never heard of MK Ultra? I don't know. Maybe he is wiped. Maybe because I was watching Tim Pool, and he has some really strong words about Bill Maher. But the way Tim Pool talked about Bill Maher is also the same way Tim Pool talked about this guy right here. He for some reason, Tim just thinks that certain people are just dumb. And that's why they're doing dumb things or they're saying dumb things. But if you look at Maggioni's history, educated man, well-to-do family, went to school, learned, was able to make it through life without none of these issues. Bill Maher, very successful man, made it through life without having tons of issues. But then all of a sudden he just becomes like this dim, slow, like type of person magically all of a sudden. I don't know. I think that's taking away from the realm of possibility of what could be happening to people. And the word patsy was invented for a reason. These are real things that were experimented on. They were declassified. It turns out they were true, but we're just so in disbelief. We think it only happens on movies. People don't realize a lot of movies are based off of real life events. They just change the names and the scenarios. But it's real. These are real things. So maybe he could be MK Ultra. I mean, I don't know. This whole situation with Luis Maggioni screams MK Ultra to me. Or it just screams that they're going to let this get all the way to trial, waste millions of dollars and thousands of prime time hours on media for a man who was actually innocent, wasn't there. They're able to prove he wasn't there. And now what they're going to do, start the whole race over again to figure out who actually shot the CEO of the healthcare company? They're going to start over from scratch? I mean, they never started over from scratch to try to figure out who shot JFK. They're not trying to figure out from scratch who committed, who actually really took down the They're not doing any of those things. So I don't think they're going to retroactively try to go after. Hell, another man confessed to actually being the person. Now, I'm somebody who, even when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, the Jews did it. There's actually a man who's actually a serial murderer, he's actually in prison for murdering a bunch of women who all look like Nicole Simpson. He targeted blonde white women. He was actually her maintenance man who worked at her house. This man confessed years later before the Jews passed away. And everyone just was like, yeah, but we want to believe. And I was one of those people that just believed he did it. But I was like, man, to go from a pro football player to a pro knifer. And I'm asking people, like, have you ever stabbed anyone before? Do you know how difficult it is to try to take out a knife? It's not like in the movies where you're just dancing and you're just doing all these cool, like, I was watching this TV show today. The girl was a woman. She's slicing Achilles tendons, wrist, throat, all in like 4 seconds. That's not realistic. In real life, you have higher odds of slicing your own hand open than successfully knifing somebody with no practice and no prior training. It's just not realistic. It's just like if you've never shot a gun before, you all of a sudden picking up a weapon and you're just Mark Wahlberg in the movie Shooter. I'm making a lot of pop culture references. Or on the video game Max Payne. Or what's that one movie with the guy and he swings a gun and the bullet like wraps around the building and shoots somebody. Like that's just bullshit. So to think that OJ did all this slicing and dicing and didn't accidentally cut himself, but yet there's a man who actually confessed to doing it. But also it's just like the public likes to be scammed. You know what they say? 50% of the scam is the person trying to convince you. The other 50% comes from your imagination convincing yourself that it's not a scam and that it's true. It's more difficult for somebody to admit that they've been scammed than to believe they've been scammed or something like that. And that's another thing about the human psyche. Whoever's behind a lot of this stuff going on, it's like they understand humans and how our minds work better than we understand ourselves. I'll give you an example. Look at this. Oldie but goodie.
You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion.
September 11, 2001. You saved my life. Look at this. Look at this carnage. Look at this. It's completely black outside because of all the dust and debris. And in your mind, you're telling yourself that 2 airplanes hitting buildings, hundreds of floors in the air did this, caused this chain reaction. And this is a video from before they even knew these were coming down. So, but you know what? If they can convince you that passports or fell out of the sky only from the guys who were hijackers, if they can convince you that those magically fell out of a plane, if they can convince you of that, then getting you to stay home to stop the spread, it was child's play. If they can convince you of that, then basically anything goes. They can convince you of anything, and you'll believe it because you want to believe that the TV loves you. See, I'm not on TV right now. For most of you, you're watching me on your phone, your computer monitor, somewhere like that. You're not watching me on television. Would I do a better job than I think some of these people? Yeah, the reason I'm only making these videos is because the people I see on TV suck. And I'm like, well, I mean, I can do that. I can sit there and just read the news and talk to people about topics. However, per my name, I'm going to have, guess what my point of view is about this? Because it keeps happening. It keeps happening. These are people that they've made songs. Their demographic, their group. I know people don't like you to marginalize people, or they don't want you to, what's the word? Group everyone together, or what is it? Something that the Blinkities complain about? Profiling. I don't give a fuck. I profile everybody. That's just me. I'm my brain. It's human. It's natural for you to look for patterns in people. I'm seeing a pattern. Gay couple who showed off a picture perfect family get 100 years in prison for horrific rape of adopted sons. You know, the Russian Federation banned this. They made it illegal. You can no longer be gay or trans, or basically you can't be a mentally ill person and think that you're going to go and adopt Russian children and fly them to another country, God knows where. And in 5 years, when they go follow up and say, hey, how are the boys doing? You and your husband say, what boys? Boys. You remember any boys? Anybody see any boys around here? Like, what are you talking about? We got paperwork. You adopted them. No, and I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. You're trespassing, yada yada. Nobody. Where do you think these kids? Okay, you know, there's a lot of people. Every year, there's. I'm gonna keep saying this, and I'm not gonna stop saying this until people understand it. The MAP community, the minor attracted persons, the minor attracted adults, that community, I would say, is the largest, most underreported community in the country, because a lot of them blend in with society and they pretend to be normal. They don't identify with the LGBTQ. Now, because they think that it's becoming more acceptable, they're starting to peek out a little bit and make a little noise, but they're just, it's a demographic that's underreported that a lot of people don't want to admit to being until it becomes safe to do so. Kind of like how a lot of people were in the closet about being a Trump supporter. Well, there's a lot of people in the closet about being attracted to children, but now they're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. These last 4 years, they're getting a little bit more emboldened. As we speak, they're on Blue Sky sharing images of children, but they're not recycled images. According to the FBI, there are people, where are all these images coming from? The kids that are being harmed in these videos for the sake of entertainment of all these people, these maps, where are the children coming from? Where do they get them? Because there's no way you're doing all this horrific stuff to children, and then you're like, okay, look, tell your parents you went to Dairy Queen, and you just go home and pretend like nothing happened. There's no way this is happening. So where are the children coming from? This is where they're coming from. A lot of them are adopted. A lot of them came across the border too. 300,000 of them that they can't find. And they're given, and they're just having, and the kids, they come over across the border with no parents. They have addresses. No one knows who gave them the address, but they're dropping them off at random people's houses. And they're just saying, all right, sayonara. What's happening to these kids? I guess nobody knows, right? I mean, the jury's out. We're trying to figure it out. Man. You know, it just makes you sometimes want to be more grateful for your parents and say, you know, I'm glad this could have been me. Could have been one of my cousins. Could have been somebody, you know, we got lucky. If you're watching this and you had protection as a child, you got lucky. Because it's not guaranteed for every baby born that they're going to have family and people to protect them that are going to be there and love them. There's no guarantee they're going to be there forever. You could have been born with good parents and something could have happened. Your parents are gone. You end up here. Anything, life comes at you fast. Anything can happen to anybody. We got to be more grateful for our situations. The Christian agency that allowed these discussion reprobates to adopt should be held accountable. I agree. Absolutely. You know what? I love the people in my comments on the Safe and Effective podcast. I don't know why. I love the people that leave comments and talk because they're so sensible. Every now and again, you get some weirdos that are, demos and say demo bullshit, but for the most part, everybody's aware, everybody's coherent, and nobody's drinking the Kool-Aid, as they might say. We're not doing it anymore. I saw this weird video. We'll go to my comments in a second, because there are some really good comments that I like to highlight, some good people. But look at this. So this is a guy he's an interviewer wearing like some pajamas. But look at the guy he's talking to. Look at this guy.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's something you agree with conservatives on?
Not a damn thing anymore.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Can't name one?
No.
Immigration, free speech, First, Second Amendment?
First and Second Amendment, sure.
Okay. All right. So we have some agreement. What is the weirdest thing about conservatives?
That they're brainwashed, they're all cultish.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's something you agree with conservatives on?
Not a damn thing anymore.
Nothing?
No.
Well, let's take a look at the virtue signaling of this adult grown ass man. Well, for one, he's wearing a woman's dress, and he has a flag, a scarf, or some kind of neck covering. He's wearing some sort of headdress that's black, I guess like a nun maybe ish. But he has white face paint and a red beard that's dyed like a clown. And he's wearing this pin says "Love Wins." And his tag says Scruffy City Sisters. Do you think he's drawing the line at being attracted to children? I mean, I've watched a lot of movies in my day. When they show what the psycho that's about to show up and do all kinds of horrible things to victims, this is what they look like. Those clown massacres and all that stuff, they look like this guy right here. It looks like he's holding like a little purse handbag, but conservatives we're in the cult, because we think that you pretty much are identifying that, for one, you're not into women, you're into men, but it doesn't look like you're training to attract men. It looks like you're built for children, someone who doesn't have a choice, and you want to reflect that. You want that to get out there. I mean, it's just I'm just going off of hype. Maybe I could be wrong. This is all alleged, but as of right now, it looks like you're in a cult. This is cult, not me talking like this. I don't know. Does that make me right wing? I don't know. I guess this is why I say that. I'm like, maybe I am, because if I think this is crazy, but on the other side, Charlie Kirk saying, things that make sense, that, only women can give birth. If that's what makes us right wing, then so be it. But shit, who's on the left? I mean, I think this interviewer should ask this guy a couple more questions about kids and about where he stands with men giving birth in this. And has he ever himself had a butt baby? Since that's their thing, right? The butt baby situation. I'm still getting comments on that. I think that was probably one of my most viral videos that I've ever posted. I don't know how on this page it got posted. I don't know how it even went viral. Millions of views. I don't think I've ever had. I think I've had a few videos in the past month that when I check the analytics, I don't even know how to do that. But I look at it, millions of views, over 1 million views for some of these videos. And I'm like, but they're about certain topics. And it's like the rest of us, I guess we're all right wing. We're tired of it. And we're tired of pretending like it's normal. Do me a favor. This is a new page. If you're listening to this or if you're watching this, please follow, like, share, bring some more people in. If you disagree, Leave a comment if you don't agree. If you do agree, leave a comment. Some of us, for a while, I was living in California. Me, exactly the same person. I haven't changed at all. I'm living in California a few years ago. In my opinion, everyone around me was losing their minds. People are staying in the house. They're not going outside. They can't explain to me why. And the only excuse they can tell me is, well, the TV told me to stay home. When I grew up to think that the television makes you dumb, makes you stupid. And it also melts your brain, especially if you sit too close to it. I always believe that. So when a television tells me to do something, I don't listen. I'm just not listening to the TV. The TV's been wrong about so much. I don't trust it. That's why we do independent media, is because once we fact check and we take what they say on these news shows and we plug it next to reality, it doesn't add up. Not even Fox News always adds up. Now, everyone wants to grift and trying to pretend like they've been ahead of it the whole time. That's why I don't respect people like Stephen A. Smith. Yes, it's okay for you to change, but I don't like a fucking grifter. I remember him talking bad about Trump, saying all this bullshit, but yet he's married and he lives a conservative lifestyle, but he's talking all this Democrat nonsense. And now that Trump won and the popular mandate has shifted to the right, now he wants to come join the rest of us. I don't like grifters because they'll say anything. And a man that'll say anything to save his own ass cannot be trusted. They're going to say anything. That's all they care about is themselves and their own bottom line. Example of that is Chris Cuomo. He'll say anything to protect himself. He went along with a lot of the trans nonsense and all this fake shit. He actually shared the air with Don Lemon. We know where Don Lemon stands on all this. But was Cuomo thinking about his kids, his sons? No, Cuomo's thinking about himself. Lemon doesn't have any sons because butt babies are not real. Does that make me right wing? Am I is this just the most controversial thing you're going to hear on Christmas Eve? Is that there's no scenario in life where you're being given an embryo of a baby into your intestine and a man is having a baby grow in him, pass through his butt. So the fact that I'm laughing at this and and it's funny to me, does that make me right wing? Like, so what does that make the people that believe it? So they're left wing. So it's basically us versus them. Like, you're making up something. I'm actually saying something that's true and believable that we can go see for ourselves. I'll play the video again if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. The infamous butt baby video. Now, this is on the Safe and Effective podcast. My ClubRico podcast has been banned to hell. I'll never be able to go live on there. I'll never be able to. I can make videos, but I can't talk or anything. So let's see here. Where's this infamous video? I like playing it because it just shows you how far we have fallen in the past few years. Where's the butt baby? Here we go.
Births or butt babies?
And her name is Dr. Pushar? Okay, that's actually my commentary about the video. But where is the actual? There we go. Right here.
With all due respect, sir, I'm the expert here.
I'm confused. What hole does the baby come out?
They're called rectal births or butt babies.
You say men can get pregnant?
Of course they can.
As a man.
It's funny. This video right here, where are my analytics for this video? People were saying, oh, that video is not real. 5,000 comments. 5,000. Let's see here. I don't even know how to check the analytics on this right from here. I know I can do it from my phone, but right here, view insights. Fuck. Over 4 million views in a week. This is a topic that's important. Everything kind of stems from this one topic. So that's why this topic is so near and dear to us. Look at what they're saying.
Called rearing a child.
Are you sure?
With all due respect, sir, I'm the expert here.
I'm confused. What hole does the baby come out?
They're called rectal births or butt babies.
You say men can get pregnant?
Of course they can.
Does a man get pregnant?
It's called rearing a child.
Are you sure?
With all due respect, sir, I'm the expert here.
And the thing is, like I said, I don't argue with people on the interwebs. I'm a people person. We can sit down and talk. I'll fly to where you live. You can come to where I live. I'll rent a venue. We can have these conversations in person, on stage, mic'd up in front of other people, and we can debate. We can talk. If you can explain to me how men can give birth, not women cosplaying as men because they take a bunch of hormones and they can grow facial hair and, you know, it works out a lot. And they maybe got a haircut like Ellen DeGeneres, puts on a blazer with the t-shirt underneath, the tank top. I don't know, this whole blazer tank top thing. But if you want to have these conversations in person where you can explain how any of this stuff is real, let's do it. Or have you ever seen one in person actually happen? Have you ever seen someone have a butt baby? People are like, oh, that's AI. These videos are fake. No, they're not. There are actually real people who are expressing to the public that this can happen. But more specifically, they're dressing up in drag and they're telling kindergartners that this can happen. They're telling your kids this is true. Because remember, they can't have kids. They can only have yours. So they're targeting them. They're telling people who don't know any better. They can't tell an adult like me. You couldn't even tell me in high school. You couldn't even tell me this in junior high. But if I'm in kindergarten, I'm like, damn, really? Years later, I might be confused and be like, well, maybe. Well, I don't know, Dad. I think maybe there is a way for a man to get, and you got to wonder where your kids are getting this bullshit from. You got to ask yourself, well, why does my daughter think that she's non-binary? Matter of fact, what the fuck is a binary? Nobody knows. What are pronouns? Like, I had a hard enough time with adverbs, let alone pronouns. I'm not doing either one. I'm not doing that with you. I'm just not. You can fight me. How about we fight? If you whoop me, I'll call you whatever you want. I'll call you, I'll call you a Nightcrawler. I'll call you Ninja. I'll call you whatever you want me to call. I'll call you Delicious. I won't call you Delicious. We're going to draw the line right there. But the thing is, I'll call you whatever you want if you whoop me. But we got to have these conversations in person because the internet is literally driving children insane. That's why they want to ban TikTok, because videos of mentally ill adults telling children that boys can have, babies. There was an adult man, black dude, gay as all hell. And he was talking about like, oh my God, I got my period. No, you didn't. Now, if your bunghole is bleeding or your penile is bleeding, seek help. Go to a clinic. Go to a hospital. You should not be bleeding from there, buddy. But that's not you having a period. Period. Full stop. I mean, that's it. Period. You're not having a period. Period. Full stop. Not double period. But you got to drop it. You got to stop. We got to stop the nonsense somewhere. But again, the nonsense is not for us adults. It's for impressionable children who are going to do things that they're going to regret later as an adult. And we all know what that leads to. Self-deletion. And let's go back and see here. Self-deletion is part of whose agenda for us in the West?
I wonder, I don't remember.
The World Economic Forum. Remember, they want the population to go down. And by the year 2030, their goal is you will own nothing and you will be happy. But they also said by the year 2025, the United States will no longer be a global superpower. But also, the man behind all that, George Soros, what did he say? He also said that after 2020, Donald Trump will no longer be a threat, that he would just be a temporary hurdle, that and he would not be here, it'd be temporary. And to see a man like him proven wrong, it makes my day, and it makes everything I'm doing just worth it. Because even though I'm a small channel, I'm small on the internet. I have these conversations when I meet people in person. I do try to go to events if I'm invited. And I'm like that family member that people are uncomfortable with, because he's going to talk to you about reality or some things that you might not want to hear, but they are necessary conversations. So I'll talk about this stuff. I'm a small on the internet, but in person, I have these conversations with people, and these conversations literally will help you make better decisions. Oh, this is another little video I made. And if you listen to the words and go over the articles that I'm scrolling through, you'll see the point I'm making.
A danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. I give President Trump credit for motivating his core supporters brilliantly, but for every core supporter, he has created a greater number of core opponents who are equally strongly motivated. That's why I expect a Democratic landslide in 2018. I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world.
Ironic that the Sith Lord himself, Dark Soros, considers someone else being a greater threat to the world than even he himself, who has collapsed the economies of multiple countries, who has contributed to the deaths of God knows how many humans, who has committed so many crimes, but because of his money, he's immune and protected by even people in our own government. I mean, needless to say, this man should have been arrested the same way they went and got Kim.com for pirating music while he lived in New Zealand. They could have went to wherever cave or under whatever rock this piece of dog trash has been hiding under and arrested him for a slew of way more dangerous things than they picked up Kim.com for. But they haven't. So that means someone's protecting him somewhere. The good thing is, just like Klaus Schwab, Soros is in his late 90s now, and he's on his way out. His son is weak. And these core supporters that he's talking about are mainly people within the World Economic Forum and other senior citizens in the American government like Joe Biden, who they've compromised. No one's even, when people say, oh yeah, someone has control over Biden, someone's making him do this, these are the people who are making him. Klaus Schwab, George Soros. The only thing I haven't been able to figure out completely is, what did Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, what did they offer Newsom? What did they offer Whitmer? What did they offer Cuomo when he was the governor of New York? These people were obviously operating under another person's control, another sphere of influence. They were all on the same page. But Trump was president, so they weren't operating on orders from the Fed. They weren't listening to Bernie Sanders or whoever they were listening, but there are videos and pictures of them being frequent visitors to China. Who knows? They could have got, these other countries have their own MK Ultra programs. You come over there to visit, they're telling you they're going to give you a check for your campaign, and they want to be sister cities with you. You get there, they take you somewhere, and we don't know. And then you come back a brand new person. You look the same, you sound the same, but they can trigger you to say something or do something that goes against everything you know to be right. That makes no sense. And it's exactly the opposite of what your constituents would want. And you do it. And we don't know why. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess the next one that's probably going to have to go over there before he creates too much ruckus is Eric Adams. I mean, look at him. He's already grifting and saying, this is what I meant by grifting. He's starting to sound like he's right-wing Rico. I'll play this video for you.
Tudor, Ivy League, grew up in an affluent household. His manifesto clearly is showing some signs of hating. Our children have been radicalized. I said this over and over again. Everybody's like, what are you talking about, Eric? And, our children are being radicalized to hate the America, to hate the country that put them where they are. This person had all that one wanted to have, but he hated everything to the point of shooting someone. And we got to deal with the radicalization of our young people. And, people could, they could complain that I'm saying it, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing our bench is hating the team. And we better start acknowledging and focusing on that. And so having dance parties, celebrating the death of someone, I don't support that.
I'll be honest. I don't like Adams because I remember what he did to the first responders in New York over the mandates. I remember. I'll never forget. And I'll play those videos too when I do another live. I can never get behind him or support him. I don't care what he says or how much sense he makes now. He's a grifter. Plain and simple. But I'm like, are you just now finding out kids are being radicalized? Like you're former law enforcement. You didn't know this already? Why are you barely saying this now? Oh, they're hating the home team. You also hate the home team. Go look in the mirror. Who are the people that hate this country the most? They're also the ones magically who would refuse to leave the most. No one in their right mind would stay somewhere that they spend their whole life saying is mistreating them, unless you're already mentally ill and not in your right mind. So, electing people like that into positions of authority and power, it just seems like a bad idea. But look at when you elect them and put them in cities. Look at what the cities turn into. Look at Los Angeles. Look at Baltimore. Look at Chicago. Look at all these other cities where you let folks like this take over and win these seats. What happens to their cities? They become corrupt and plagued with incompetence, destroyed, unbalanced. The kids can't read, and what do you become as an adult when you're a kid that can't read and can't think for themselves? You become an activist. As an activist, you always have to find something wrong. That means you can't ever merge with society and become, affluent. You can't really do anything productive. So it's crazy. The same country that you hate so much because, well, that's all you can do. That's all you learned how to do, is essentially also the same country that you're begging to give you money for food and living and to help you find a place to live every month through a social programs. These in my opinion, these social programs and all this, the welfare and the foods, it just made Americans weak. And we have a certain demographic that's been hooked on it since the 70s. But when the lockdowns came, and everybody was like, yeah, you have the option to just stay home if you want to in a lot of places, especially like we did in LA back in California. Some people who were actually good people got a taste of communism and they want more. They like being able to just sit home and pretend that something's outside the door scaring you when really it's just an excuse because you don't want to go work. It's happening all around us. And it's really not, there's no really quick, easy answer. This video also right here got a lot of views too. Let me see how many views this got. 2 million views.
Physically healthy people feel they should have been born disabled.
1,000 comments almost. Well, 153.
A woman in North Carolina poured drain cleaner in her eyes because she felt blind. Transgender, transracial, transabled. Guess what's next? A grown man posting an ad on Craigslist wanting a nanny because he identifies as a baby. You can't make this stuff up. Ridiculous? Perhaps, but who's to say anymore if that's how he feels? If a man can be a woman because he feels like one, if a white person can be a black person because she feels like one, if a healthy person can mutilate herself because she feels disabled, if a grown man can be a baby because he feels infantile, where does this end? Can a child be an adult because she feels like a grown up? Can a teenager buy alcohol because he identifies as over 21 years of age?
And that's where we're going with this. I guess that's what makes me right wing, is because I'm saying that it's nonsense. You know, I'm gonna play the next video. I was just thinking about it, and I was gonna we'll read the comments about the next video I'm gonna play, but it should actually trouble you. But it's a sad thing, because I couldn't imagine being the husband in this scenario, and it's terrible. But we'll go ahead and watch it together. It is, where is it? Right here.
What is a woman?
What is a person?
What is a woman?
A person is someone who walks the earth. That's well from.
That's not the video. It's similar to that video, but that's not it. Actually, let me just go to the comments. Right here.
What motivated you to come out here today?
We're supporting our child, Violet, and her access to the medical care that she needs.
Yeah, we're here.
Look at dad, poor dad. Listen to what he says. Basically, it's like he's reading a script. And guess what happens? Guess what the punishment is, Dad? If you say one wrong word, or you don't get this exactly right, because there's a blue-haired, mentally ill person behind you and everyone's listening. If you don't get this right, Dad, you know what the punishment is? You lose everything. You lose your baby. You lose your wife. You're going to lose your marriage. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose in the future, because if you're getting a divorce, depending on what state he lives in, actually, I think they live in Arizona. They live in Arizona. So they're, let me go watch. I'll play the video for you.
Her rights.
She's been telling us since she could speak. So she knew since birth.
What motivated?
And that's a fucking lie. There is no child born thinking of themselves in a sexual manner where they're telling you what they want to be. 18 months is a lie, but look at the punishment if you say I disagree. This woman is going to take everything away from you, but she's already taken your son. Little does dad know, he's already lost everything. You'll never have grandkids. And when that son grows up and grows out of this phase and realizes he will never have children, he will never get married to a woman and have a family. Humans have lived a certain type of way since we've been on Earth. There's no generation until this last past one, and it was only between one group, but people get married, people have children, people grow old, people pass away. There's so many steps that are being missed now. No one wants to get married. No one wants to have kids. What does that do for the society? But so what they have to do is you have to open the border, and you got to bring people in from other countries that are conservative, that want to have children and have families, that believe in that believe in traditional ways, to replace those who are trying to reinvent the wheel. Your son is gone. And one day when he grows up and he realizes what he's done to himself, and that there is no prospects for a future, you're going to get a phone call that he unalived himself. I've met, there's so many men that I knew that have done this. And I used to be like, why? He seems so happy. He seemed like but then you look at his life. No kids, no prospect for future kids. Because now that I look back, man, I used to see this dude at the club all the time. He used to hang out with me and my friends. I'm like, he's around a lot, and we out in public, we're at parties. I've never seen him with a woman. Never seen him with a girl. I've known him 15 years. Never seen him with a girlfriend. Never seen him show up with somebody. Never seen him hook up and leave with somebody for a one-night stand. You know, there's certain things that men require in life to motivate us. There's a football player right now, got a Heisman. He's doing great. He's supposed to go to, you know, he plays for Deion Sanders named Travis. He's like the laughing stock of the country right now because this woman that he put on this pedestal, she's embarrassing the hell out of him in front of the world. But they've been together 5 years, even though she's been cheating this whole 5 years. She was his motivation. Women and children motivate and push men. When you know that you will have neither one in the future, you don't have any point to live. Again, the World Economic Forum wants the population in our countries in the West to be decimated. They want them to be reduced. Putin knows this. He's not he's not going to launch the Arisnica on the United States, not because he's afraid of the retaliation, but because it's not good for business. The Russians want to do business. They don't want to fight. They didn't want this fight in the first place. They had to protect their borders. We would do the same if China proposed Mexico to join their BRICS initiative, and they can bring in and put a military base in Tijuana. The United States would not allow that. The Federation cannot allow that. So it's in a way, it's a catch-22. You know, dad's going to lose regardless. He's already lost, and he has to say whatever he can to try to keep this together. But he's a hostage. That is screwed. You know. But look at the comments. Other people agree. Let me see here. Hundreds and hundreds of comments. And they're calling the little boy Violet, but I'm thinking they probably named him Vincent. Probably be a good name. Probably a handsome guy. And now somebody at his school convinced him that he's a girl. Typically, they target children that are autistic. And they tell them, you're not actually autistic, you're just gay. You're not autistic, you're trans. And then they take an autistic, impressionable kid who's socially awkward, and they put a dress on a boy, or they put some jeans on a girl. And then when you come in the room, everyone claps. Oh my God, you're amazing. Now you're starting to feel socially accepted, but really it's just a scam to convince you to not soon before long down the line, delete yourself when you realize what someone convinced you to do. The poor kid seems like mom wanted a girl. It doesn't matter. I think mom was going to do this even if she had a daughter. She would have been convinced her daughter wants to be a son. These people are going to look for any reason to do what they want to do. They're never going to be happy. Ever. So they would have, if it was a daughter, she would have convinced she wants a son. If it was a son, she convinced she wants a daughter. And your parents are ultimately in control over you and what you do. If your kid wanted a face tattoo, what would you do? Excellent question, Donald Crooks. I ask people this. If your child tells you at 4 years old that they think they're trans, they think it's a boy, but he wants to be a girl. If you'll indulge that, then where would you draw the line? If your child said, hey, I want to get a face tattoo, or I want to own a gun, take the gun to school, how far would you indulge? If your son said, actually, I'm a dinosaur, would you try to find some I don't know, fake Jurassic Park exhibit and let them run around naked and just growl and yell at people? No. I mean, where would you draw the line? Because if you'll let your child pretend that they're a different gender that you know to not be the case, and they're not some kind of hermaphrodite or something, if you know this and you still go along with it, where would you draw the line? What won't you do? And I think they'll do anything. What if your son said, you know what, Dad, I just don't want my leg anymore because I feel like sexually this leg is, and what are you going to do? Go to a doctor? I'm sure there are some sick doctors out there that you could pay them $60,000 and they'll remove your leg from the knee and they'll just make up a medical excuse for it because both parents consented. Like she said in the previous video, transabled, all this trans stuff leads, and it's only in Western countries. It's only in the United States, Canada, the UK, in Australia, maybe. This isn't happening everywhere. However, if your kid came to you and wanted to remove a body part and said it was something to do with their sexuality, would you do it? And you could pay, like I said, you could pay a doctor to do it. Or is that where we're at right now, where we're just removing body parts because we feel like they should be removed, like with no medical anything, just to do it? Is that how bad the medical industrial complex is doing? Because people want to eat healthy, work out, go vegan, and you got RFK coming into the fray, and they're going to ban these chemicals and all these ingredients that are causing disease in people. We're going to make America healthy again. Maha. So now they're like, well, shit, what are we going to do with less sick people? I mean, if you think about it, what are car mechanics going to do then? Some people are using electric cars. When I bought a Tesla, you think my mechanic, who I had to go see every couple of months because something was wrong with the motor, you think he was excited? No. Less business, less money for him. So you're only going to, doctors like it when you're doing bad in life, not when you're doing good. They need you there. They need you to have some kind of dis-ease so that they can prescribe something for you to treat it. They need you to be in a bad situation. Do people know what happens when you start doing this trans stuff? I do. Right wing Rico. That's why I got a bald eagle with a headset on there. Because apparently talking about this makes me right wing. Well, for one thing, when you start taking the hormones, the results are permanent. For example, if you have a son, right, and he's a kid, before hitting puberty, and you give him those puberty blockers, yeah, you can stop taking them, but the damage is done. You know what develops? A micro penis, because his penis was never able to fully form. And even if you stop taking the meds later, however long later, your penis still will not, it stunts your body's growth right there. You know how many other issues that causes when your body is doing one thing, but your organs are doing another? Or if you do go all the way, not like Big Mike. Big Mike is still intact. Yeah, Big Mike's still swinging that hefty thing around. I'm talking about people that go all the way, like the girl in, like the little boy in Florida that the mom pretends is a girl. What was her name? Riley Reed. It was like this trans kid that is just being abused by the mom. Matter of fact, let me see here. I'm pretty sure they have it. Mom uses dilator on trans kid.
The suspect in the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian.
Right here, Jazz Jennings. Look.
I think the answer to this headline is yes. Does Jazz Jennings regret transitioning? The story of a child who did not know what gender was, who underwent gender transition before puberty, and then received surgery before being an adult. The story from The Spectator is actually rather terrifying, and it's rooted in a clip from Jazz Jennings' show, where Jazz, who is biologically male but was transitioned as a child, says, "I just don't feel like myself, I never do." So, despite all the surgeries, the years of affirmation, nothing is making Jazz feel like themselves. It's weird. I can't begin to try and understand what that must be like for anybody who doesn't feel like themselves. But maybe this is the reason why they say that despite affirmation, attempted suicides remain high among those suffering from gender dysphoria.
Absolutely.
Feel like
And they will. But look.
me ever. Here's the clip.
So, are you feeling like you want to start talking about? Are you okay? I'm okay. Don't cry. But you know I can't get out of my head. I know. No, listen. It just doesn't stop. It's okay. It's okay. I know what you're going through. I've been there. No, it still doesn't stop now. And I'm already going back to it. But you're already talking about yourself. It gets harder. You're digging in and you're.
This isn't it. Hold on, let me go to the clip where the moms. Oh, this is it. This is the sick part. This is what these parents are doing. Look.
For shorter periods of time for the rest of their lives. Otherwise, the wound can shrink. Worse still, the wound can form an air pocket.
Look at what you got to do. Look at what happens when you go all the way. And this is the stuff they don't want to tell you. Look what happens when you go all the way.
In the wrong body. Jeanette, for her part, tries to dissuade Jazz from introspecting too deeply. But the more you're talking about yourself, it gets harder. You're digging in and it's making you put a magnifying glass on what's already difficult. Jeanette, of course, has made millions off of Jazz's transition and become famous for it. She now runs her own organization, the Trans Kid Purple Rainbow Foundation, which aims to enhance the lives of transgender and gender nonconforming youth and their families. Jeanette has adamantly supported Jazz's transition and pushed Jazz to incorporate every available mode of transition to appear as much as possible as though he is a woman. A recent clip from TLC shows Jeanette pressuring Jazz to dilate his neo-vagina every day. Jeanette says that if Jazz doesn't do it, it will wring Jazz's neck.
A neo-vagina, and you're threatened by the mother. If you don't do it, they're going to wring your neck. Okay, what does it mean to dilate? What's a dilator? What do you mean dilate? Like, let's continue. What do you mean?
Men who undergo the penile inversion vaginoplasty are expected to dilate the open wound for over 2 hours a day for up to 2 years post-surgery and for shorter periods of time for the rest of their lives.
Wait a minute. A neopenile inversion. So that means, oh my God. That means they slice up your hot dog and push it inside you. So it's like a pocket that some sick perv is supposed to want to come and hump. All right, let me just finish this.
Otherwise, the wound can shrink. Worse still, the wound can form an air pocket and then cause very serious complications and infection.
But with her, I'm worried about like her mental well-being and her dilation. The minute she leaves my house, we have a dilation problem.
That is a concern.
A dilation problem. Basically, a dilator is a machine that they have to put inside so that your body wants to heal the wound that they cut open. This machine keeps your body from being able to close that wound, and it wants it to stay open, and you have to do this for the rest of your life to keep that opening there so that you can have a make-believe hole inside you that you're going to call a vajayjay that is just really just a hole. It's like me punching a hole in the drywall right next to me, putting my, thing in there and saying, oh yeah, this is a vagina. No, it's not. It's a fucking hole in some drywall.
We don't have that watchful eye. They kind of go back to old patterns.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator with the lubrication on it and said, here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will. But Jazz is bad. Even when I'm home once a day, I will be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up.
Oh my God.
Right,
her neck. Can you imagine?
One more time. What did she say?
Even when I'm home once a day, I will be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up. I will wring her neck.
She said, I will wring her neck if she doesn't lube up the dilator. This is clear psychological torment and abuse. This is insane.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's the parents that are doing this. It's not the kid. The kids are victims. Why are these parents not being destroyed publicly and arrested? And this is why someone like me, someone who's right-wing, Rico, should not be in charge. Because logic will prevail. These people are clear dangers to society and must be removed. Now, Jazz Jennings is in college, I believe, and back trying to live as a man, dating a woman, regrets everything, but is just now a guy with no penis. Let me ask you this, chat, or those who are, tuned in. What would a man without his penis do? Just live normal and enjoy the other things in life besides sex with women? He would just frolic and find other hobbies and just, maybe start spelunking or do a botany and learn about, no. Not soon before long, you're going to turn on, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to hear that Jazz Jennings has self-deleted. These parents are doing this to these kids. And for the life of me, I'm like, I don't understand why that's so difficult to understand. Most 1.5-year-old kids know what trans is, right? No, they don't. 1.5 since birth, some people shouldn't be parents. Absolutely, they should be prisoners. They should be in prison. So if she wanted a handgun at 1.5, would they let her have one? That's a good question. This is child abuse. Exactly. Jazz Jennings is adult abuse that started off as a child. And they were in Florida. I'm surprised with Florida's strict laws that they didn't step in from Child Protective Services and take this child away. I mean, this is insane. But I guess for them to do that, someone has to make a complaint. Maybe there was no complaints about this. That just means we failed our children. Let's see here. For the love of God, save this child and arrest these parents. When the parents want attention, absolutely. Maybe these parents, it's just social affirmation, just like how they do the autistic kids and they say, oh my God, you're so great when you put on this dress. These parents, once they say, yeah, my son is thinking about becoming, and then everyone starts clapping, great job, you're an amazing, and they kind of get addicted to it, especially when people start donating money. Oh, I have a link in my bio to my Cash App if you want my transition. And there's people out there who they know what this leads to. They hate humans. They hate people being on Earth. If they could, they'd light a nuke right now. Luckily for us, nukes are not real. So they can't light a nuke. So they got to find other ways to get rid of us. Wars are not popular enough and it would take too long and a peace would be struck before enough people would be wiped. That's what should have happened in the Ukraine, but for it to happen to the United States, highly unlikely. A civil where people like right-wing people like myself would have to basically do something about people that support this. Because as an adult human, if you can't protect children from other adults, then what good are you? What are you here for? There could be a conflict in the United States about that. But as far as anything else, I don't see it happening. The conditions are not going to be there because we're armed. And a lot of us make our money independently because the government can't just turn everything off on us. We still have a choice. During the lockdown, everyone they were told to stay home. I have ARs and 45s that said, no, actually, Rico, you can go outside, you can go wherever you want. You don't have to do what the television says because of us. And I'm like, and I hugged my AR, my 45. I said, thank you. I feel more confident now when I'm out in public with you guys in the years 2020 and 2021. Hell, we were still partying, kicking it, going out. I didn't stay home. I didn't give a fuck about stopping spread of what? Communism? That was the only spread I was trying to stop. That's the only thing I noticed that was spreading. And bullshit, because I would tell people, hey, what are you afraid of? And they'd be like, shh. You're knocking our hustle. They're giving us free money. We get to stay home. And I'm like, yeah, but what about tomorrow or in the near future when they stop? Then what are we gonna do? What's the plan? Like you got used to not paying bills for how long? Yeah, you gotta have a plan. Like it's unhealthy. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard on the internet. These two parents should be locked up. Absolutely. Because even though, I'm not making excuses for dad, but I mean, come on. One of you has to have a spine. One has to be able to say no to the other. You can't just somebody has to say no. Someone has to be the adult. Someone has to be the adult in the room. Let me see here. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm reading some other comments, but videos that came over to me. What's wrong? What the heck? Okay. Right. Check the garage sensors. Something seems to be blocking it from closing. Okay, sorry about that. Christmas Eve, but I'm still working. I have people checking into my lake, my place out there on the lake, and it says my garage or something's blocking it. So I had to text them, hey, can you go make sure nothing's blocking the garage or whatever? Oh yeah, and the towels are for you. The towels are extra for you. Yeah. So, again, you can be worried about the teachers, which are also enforcing this. But what do we do about the parents? It's a whole separate segment of society. They're not necessarily all LGBTQP. A lot of these people in this particular sect of society, they do intersect with the LGBTQP, but they're a separate group. And this mother is a part of it. And the father's an enabler, and that's the MAPS group. The reason you would want a little boy to do this to himself is so that some adult minor attracted pervert, MAP, would want to do something disgusting with him. And the waters are so the waters are so muddy that you don't even know if there's even a crime being committed because everyone's identifying as something else. And they know which states that you can do this in, like California, Oregon, Washington State. The entire West Coast is gone. The Eastern Seaboard is not too much better, but Florida is. But once you're going north, the waters are murky. Common sense is out of the window because there's a war, a culture war going on that certain people don't even know that we're fighting. I'm on both sides, so I've seen both sides. I'm able to blend in, and that's how I know what's happening. But there is a war that one side is not prepared to. We're not prepared to fight. Not even a father at this point, I know, But think about it. Are you want to be single and divorced? Or do you even want to potentially be in the picture with your son that your wife's abusing? I don't know. That's a weird situation, especially if you believe in your vows to till death do us part, and you're going to be together with this person, and you know the state you live in, there's no way for you to get out of it without losing everything. It's a tough decision. And I feel bad for dad. Men don't really have as much rights as we think. So let's see here. Yeah, cockhold behavior. No, he didn't. It was a boy. It's not even a she. 1.5 bullshit. A year and a half. That's crazy. So the parents are a part of the MAP community. People don't even know that that's a threat, but it is. Let's see here. Let's see some more of the comments. Oh, really? So as the kid is crapping all over themselves, they also had the mental capacity to know if they were trans or not? How would a kid even know what trans is? They wouldn't. They wouldn't even know the difference between boys and girls. I mean, nobody knows that until you become probably in school. I mean, that's a normal part of growth, but there's nobody this stuff is all induced and pushed on you by parents.
What is the weirdest thing about?
Let's see here. Let's see here. I mean, I don't want to play this video because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube, but if you go to my page, there is some footage of what happened in New York a couple of days ago with the woman that was set ablaze. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
And we're down. Oh. And we're down. Oh.
And that's true. A lot of them do use pronouns. Mum. That's a very good point. Not going to talk about that topic on here. I already got flagged once, and I don't want to cede any ground in this culture war. If me being on YouTube requires me to censor some of my conversation, so be it. We can always go to Rumble and X if anybody wants to have these conversations. I can tell you everything about that topic and what's going on. I've been a leading researcher for years. And I've been trying to I live in Austin also. I want to get in front of Alex Jones, and I want to talk to him about this. I feel like that man saved my life and the lives of millions, because when everything first started, he introduced the world to David Icke in the West. He introduced us to him over here in the United States back in like 2007. David Icke did an interview on London Real that came out, I would say March 17th or 18th, 2020, and explained everything that was going on to everybody. But we wouldn't have known about that, and we wouldn't have watched his follow-up interviews, and we wouldn't have had hope and more hope instead of fear. We wouldn't have been living in fear if it was the unknown that was scary. But because of Alex Jones and Icke, we knew. So there was nothing to be afraid of. It's the fears how they control. It's the fears how everybody control you. Like I said, look at that father. Fear of losing his family. Fear of losing his child, probably his only child. And look what he's doing. It's horrible. Horrible how they control you with fear. Fear of being arrested and charged like Daniel Penny. That's why they didn't stop this fire. That's why they didn't want to intervene and help this person, stop the person that was setting her ablaze. They didn't want to do it. They stayed out of it. I've never had this many followers on this page. I'm surprised. A Safe and Effective podcast. It's it was a backup page for the ClubRico podcast, because that one has been censored to oblivion. I can't ever go live there. I'll be able to go live there in 75 years when they want to release all the data for what happened in 2021. So let me see here. I mean, I'm just amazed. All these followers. I mean, hundreds in the last week or so. So I guess I'll grow these channels and I'll speak to more people. And I mean, why not? I mean, think about it. Some of the best shows that I like to watch have all basically just taken off until January like 5th or something. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Think about it. Even on your off day, even if you're on a vacation, for you to go sit down in front of your computer and talk for a little while and go over some news or talk about some topics that are coming up, it's not going to take much, but everyone just taking these huge vacations. It's like a big, huge gap. What are we supposed to do in the meantime? For example, Timcast, I'm actually a part of the Discord. I donate I pay a membership every month. And because I support the show, I support, what they're about and the different projects and stuff, because it's a net positive. It's more going on than any of these other people. However, if I ever start doing more content myself, which I plan to do, then I would have to buy a facility myself, and I would start doing other shows that talk about different topics. But I would be doing the same. I'd be on a mission. But we wouldn't have off days. Like, for example, what I'm doing right now, if I remember accurately, this is kind of like what they call talk radio. Yeah, I'm using a phone with a camera on it and a microphone, and I'm able to scroll, which I think is pretty cool. My own social media. This is really just talk radio. I'm just on here talking. I don't have a guest on right now, which I could, but I don't have a guest on here talking to me. I'm only reading people's comments. If somebody sends me a DM, I'll read it and we'll talk via that way. Or if somebody wants to join, they can join my live or whatever. But if you're going to just do talk radio and read the news and read about different topics, I don't think that takes tons and tons of effort. I mean, it just seems easy. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Let's go to Fox News. Restore this tab. Breaking on the news. Trump ruffles feathers as he pledges to undo Obama's insulting mountain name change. Okay. Trump plans to undo Obama's renaming of Mount McKinley. It's an awful idea, says Alaskan Republican. Trump outlaws his agenda. This is on his agenda. Why this is an important part of the agenda, I don't fucking know. I just hope that he has a purpose in this. It just seems so petty, especially when we have so much more stuff going on. This seems petty, but okay, let's go ahead. President-elect Trump pledged this week to undo former President Barack Obama's 2015 decision to change the name of the North America's tallest peak to its Cayenne, the Basque name Denali, meaning high one or great one. Speaking to conservatives at Phoenix's conference, Trump made the pledge and noted that President William McKinley was also a Republican who believed in tariffs. So I guess Obama wants to change back to what it was called before President McKinley adopted the name and named it after himself. He first promised to undo Obama's action back in 2015, and he said it was an insult to Ohio, where McKinley was born and raised. You know what? Fuck it. I guess let's do it. Change the name, Trump. Who cares? Like, it's not a big deal. I don't believe in tearing down statues. I don't believe in rewriting history. I don't involve myself in delusion. Everyone I know that talks about, these slave masters, slave owners, slavery is a very typical and normal dynamic between humans. It's actually a part of the human dynamic itself. It's not indicative to one group of people, not indicative to one place. Slavery happens all over the world. It's still happening to this day. It's a part of life as a human. If you are conquered and you lose a fight, you're going to become a slave. You're not a POW. You're not a prisoner of war. They can't just keep you locked up forever. You're going to have to work. That's a part of the dynamic. That's a part of losing. You were conquered. You weren't stolen. That's how it goes. Like, they can't just keep you in a cage forever. You're going to have to do something. You're fighting against someone. You lose the fight. You're a subject. You can't just think everything's a slavery. So rewriting history, tearing down statues, changing names is not going to change the human dynamic, and it doesn't erase the past. History is what it is. To the winner goes the spoils. You can't give out participation trophies in real life. Crying about being conquered is, if you don't like being conquered and you think this is yours, then go get that shit back in blood. Go get it. Okay, they got yours. They got your people's belongings in their museum. Pull up. Your country has a military, right? Okay, go join it. Organize, come back, take what's yours. Crying about it on the internet is not a solution. So that was okay. So that's just an example of me reading the news instantly. This is not extremely difficult. And I mean, I know there's production and some things, but I'm just a regular guy sitting at home with my dogs, and I could either be playing video games or something else, mundane. But instead, I want to just sit here and read the news. Police investigated a suspect in Idaho college murders over a year before a quadruple slaying. So this guy killed 4 people at college. I was reading about that the other day. I mean, there's psychos everywhere. And, but I wonder what this guy's story is. Let's look and see what they're saying.
Judge ruling Brian Kohlberger, being accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, can face the death penalty.
Jamie Pater.
Hey, good morning, Todd and Carly. So the death penalty remains on the table despite the defense throwing nearly every legal argument imaginable at the judge in hopes of sparing their client from the possibility, if he is convicted, of being the monster prosecutors say murdered 4 University of Idaho college students with a K-bar knife 2 years ago. In filings, the defense claimed, among many other things, that the death penalty goes against contemporary standards of decency, but the judge pointed to the fact that both the Idaho and the U.S. Supreme Courts said the death penalty is constitutional. Well, the family of Kayla Gonsalves reacted on Facebook with this, quote, "We finally have a judge who appears prepared, thoughtful, and well-versed in the legal process. There is a newfound level of seriousness that has been absent for far too long. Justice is moving forward. We pray that one day in the not so distant future it will be served." And this is
okay. I want to hear why. I want to hear what are they saying his motive was. Where are we at on this video? What did they say? What's his excuse for why do they think that he did this? Let's see. Because from what I'm reading, the guy had on a mask. So let's see here.
As the defense also filed a 160-page motion this week to suppress much of the evidence in the case, including the defendant's own DNA allegedly found at that scene, guys.
So they're saying his DNA was found at the scene magically. Something like, okay, look, I heard my door open and I looked over and someone was wearing a ski mask and had a knife. And so I kicked the shit out of their stomach, screaming super loud. They flew back in my closet, then ran out my door and up the stairs. The woman in the body cam footage told the police, adding that the masked intruder entered her bedroom holding a knife around 3:30 a.m. Okay, apparently it was a home invasion, but he's by himself. She said the suspect was silent the whole time, according to a police report obtained by the outlet. One of her roommates, who quickly called the police, but officers found no suspect or evidence at the time. So this is in 2022. On November, so this, I guess, was a separate invasion. On November 13th, body cam of Madison Mogden and Kaylee Conclave, both 21, their housemates, Zena Kernoodle, 20, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, were stabbed to death at 4 a.m. in their Moscow, Idaho apartment. It's a crazy name for a place in Idaho. But how does one person kill 4 people? I mean, that's like a professional. A surviving housemate. So he tried to kill more than just the 4. A surviving housemate told detectives she saw a masked man with bushy eyebrow. where have we heard bushy eye? What is with bushy eyebrows and all this people killing people lately? Because doesn't Maggiano have bushy eyebrows, or the guy they're looking for that they're saying is Maggiano? Isn't he a bushy eyebrows person? Okay. A housemaid told detectives she saw a masked man with bushy eyebrows after overhearing crying and sounds of a struggle. Kohlberger, a criminology PhD at the nearby Washington State University, arrested a week later at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. The 28-year-old suspect is facing 4 murder charges and a burglary charge in connection with the massacre. 13 days later, Kohlberger has been a person of interest in the case. The details in both the Poland break-in and the university's quadruple homicide case are eerily similar. Both suspects had a knife, wore a mask, and entered a home in early mornings of the hour and were silent while leaving. Kohlberger is no longer a person of interest in the break-in case, Pullman police told ABC. Okay, Kohlberger's height does not match the female victim's description in the Pullman case. She told police the suspect was 5'3" to 5'5", but Kohlberger is 6 feet tall. That's a pretty big fucking difference. Kohlberger was not yet enrolled at Washington State University at the time of the break-in. The Pullman case is closed and remains unsolved. So that's the first break-in. Okay, so why do they think this guy did it? What happened? What evidence? My family and I have been frustrated with the case, was not investigated in more depth, or resolved. The people from the break-in case. What the hell? Okay, let's see here, Kohlberger. So let's see here. This is let's type this guy name. Let's type his name in. Let's get more information on this, shall we? Because it's not adding up. Why do they think he's even guy?
Hey you, and welcome. My name's Mike, and here we are, armed.
What is this?
Hey you, and welcome. A long time. That was when an intruder broke into a 3-story house on King Road on the south side of the city of Moscow, home to the University of Idaho. Madison Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Fernodal, all students at the University of Idaho in town, were all viciously and brutally murdered inside that house. Someone crept in the middle of the night between 3 and 5 a.m., armed with a knife. And 2 of the people who also lived in that house, one of them who stayed on the first floor, the other who stayed on the second floor, survived that brutal attack. The killer didn't even go into their bedrooms. Even when one of these survivors was on the same floor of that house as Xana and Ethan slept in, like their bedroom was right across the hall. So why did the killer go into their rooms also? Well, to get to all that and just like a little bit more, we got to get to who got. It took weeks. I mean, for almost 2 months, the police released nearly nothing about who they thought could have actually done this. Who was this, like, sick monster who could have actually gone into that house on King Road and done what had been done? This then started to lead everybody else, including myself, to believe the police themselves didn't know. It seemed like they themselves hadn't got a clue about where to begin. Turns out, though, they had. It all happened pretty suddenly, all leading to one man. And that was Brian C stands for words I can't say right now, Kohlberger, 28 years of age, and a PhD student at the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Washington State University, less than a 10-minute drive from the University of Idaho. Now, since Brian Kohlberger's arrest, a lot of that's come out about him, but there's still also, like, a lot, like a metric shit ton, you might say, that we do not know about this character. See, Brian, he wasn't much of a presence throughout his life. He was always described as a quiet guy. Why is it always the quiet ones? I like the sales. He even posted on the subreddits who spent years interviewing and then writing a book. Said, this guy kind of sucks. But but how he would have interacted with the four victims, not at all. It has been reported that he slid into one of the victims' DMs. Who that was, we don't know, hasn't been released. Although Kaylee Goncalves has always been kind of a subject of, rumors and stuff like that, that she was the main victim here. So he slid into her DMs, apparently messaging, "Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Yeah, I acknowledge you." She never replied. Either she was like, no, or it just went into, because, she wasn't following him, they would go into her message requests.
Wait a minute. What's taking so long to get to the meat and potatoes? Why do they think this guy is the guy? They said that 5 people who knew him. That's another. Yeah, we're gonna find out. I want to find out why do they think this guy did this? What was his motive? Let me see here. Let's see. Is there another video on motive? Why he did it? Criminal Mind. Let's go.
What's the criminal psychology and the motive for why Bryan Kohberger allegedly committed the Idaho 4 murders? We're going to piece together all the key evidence to find out what could have been his motive. Now, let's get started. Bryan Christopher Kohberger was born on November 21st, 1990. We don't know exactly, but we can deduce it down to a few possibilities. He may have known someone who was going to party on the University of Idaho campus and came along. He could have met them in town, or he could have stumbled upon the victims in his social media feed and became obsessed. Additionally, a neighbor of Bryan said that he mentioned he liked going to Idaho because the shopping is better there, which for Bryan could be code for something other than food, gadgets, and clothing. Now,
wait. Why does it have to be something else than really he just likes to go there to go shopping? I mean, these are small college towns. He probably lives in a shit town, has horrible shopping. Not that I'm giving benefit of the doubt. I'm just asking for evidence. What is the smoking gun? Is there a smoking gun?
Now let's try to piece this information together to zero in on a motive. Since his first time around the victim's house was on Sunday, August 21st, this aligns with a few key occurrences. First, that's just a few weeks after Bryan arrived at his new school out west, getting ready for his first academic year far away from his hometown in Pennsylvania. All of the housemates have just finished moving in, and according to the University of Idaho academic calendar, classes started Monday, August 22nd. Yes, the next day. Therefore, according to police, Bryan was at the victim's house late at night the day before classes start. From my lengthy experience in academia, there's usually no big public parties the Sunday night before classes start.
By the way, if you're watching this on, again, follow the page, keep up with me, because we'll do this with other stuff too. Like whenever I go read a news story, we'll just dig into it and go look up other connections and see what's going on with it, because sometimes the news is not giving you everything. And if you don't feel like doing it yourself, I'll do it and I'll read it to you. Again, this is basically talk radio on YouTube, where we'll just sit here and talk about stuff and listen to videos and see if things make sense. I mean, because like I said, the reason why I like independent journalists or people like myself is because the stuff they're telling you in the mainstream media, 90-something% of it doesn't make any sense. This case has yet to make sense if we've been watching a few minutes of it. Let's give it a few more minutes. Let's go.
So Bryan was likely stalking one or several of the victims in the house that night.
So likely stalking. So this man is making a video about this guy Kohberger, and the best he can say is this person was likely. There's not even any proof. There's no smoking gun. There's no like bullshit manifesto. That's like the thing with bushy eyebrow people's manifestos.
10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. But how did he know of their house in the first place? It could have been social media, where one of the victims' photos or videos came up in his feed. Maybe he casually met one of the victims around town, were kind, physically attractive, and as servers to restaurant patrons, they would surely be extra polite and even more memorable. Therefore, all it would take is a few-second conversation for Bryan to know that they go...
Wait a minute. Who the fuck was this guy?
Physically attractive, and as servers to restaurant patrons, they would surely be
Whoa. What the fuck are you doing in Idaho, sir?
extra polite.
Oh, listen. They were going about this all wrong. I'm thinking Kohlberger might not, because think about it. This is a mystery about Kohlberger. This guy has way more motive than Kohlberger. Since allegedly, according to the same media telling us that Kohlberger did it, he's an automatic victim just for being born. And he's deep in Idaho. I don't know Kohlberger. I think Kohlberger got action, because this isn't making any sense. But let's continue.
All it would take is a few second conversation.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. He reads her name badge, which is her address, and then Brian sadly becomes her stalker. We currently don't know if that's exactly how Brian began.
What the fuck am I listening to you before? What are the police are saying the motive? Okay. Motive from police. Why did they arrest him? What cops know so far?
University of Idaho student killer himself was a graduate student at a different university nearby. We are told DNA evidence helped lead police to him after he allegedly drove from out west back home here to the Poconos. Police and the FBI at this hour conducting searches where he lived and inside his white car, a car believed connected.
In addition to felony burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder.
Kohlberger was a graduate student at Washington State University, a campus just miles across the Idaho border and that killing scene. He was studying criminal justice.
We're a 1 minute. This is a 2-minute, 30-second video. We're already over a minute into it. I haven't heard one smoking fucking gun. They're telling me they found DNA. That's it. So what are you saying? He got there and he was just shooting semen everywhere after all that killing. Does he have a history of this? Is there an actual motive? It doesn't sound like there's no motive. So he just randomly picked these people instead of picking somebody else. This seems circumstantial. And it doesn't seem like they have enough here to convict anyone unless they just poison the jury pool with a bunch of nonsense videos about this guy. But they're not blitzing him like they did Luigi. They're blitzing him. It's weird. Let's keep going, because I could be wrong.
Lone actor, the leading theory.
We have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes, and I do believe our community is safe, but we still need to be vigilant.
Police and FBI officials were seen searching his residence in Washington State. They are also going over that white vehicle, searching for additional DNA evidence to further their investigation. The arrest comes 7 weeks after the 4 students were killed as they slept in their off-campus house in Moscow, Idaho. Investigators say
7 weeks later. I'll be honest, it sounds like the police were so embarrassed and they were so desperate to make an arrest that they picked someone, and it seems circumstantial. I could be wrong. But this is, I'm going off of based on what they're telling us that they know versus what they don't know. See, I look at these cases differently than other people. For example, when that rapper Young Thug got arrested, I told everybody the case is weak. It's going to get thrown out, or he's going to get off with something light, but he's not doing 30 years, 60 years, 100 years in prison for RICO charges. RICO cases require no evidence, so that's why they lose on appeal. And if you get the right jury, they're going to have to cut a deal with you. The purpose of those cases is to be able to say that they're going to give you huge sentences, and they use the feds. So it's like, they're going to give you 365 million months. They don't tell you in years. It's how many months you're going to get to scare you into taking a deal. And it works a lot of the time. They get like I don't know what their conviction rate is, but it's super high. But when I looked at that case, I said, wait a minute, there's nothing here. There's no smoking gun. There's no being caught with a weapon, and there's no nothing. It's just circumstantial nonsense that's going to be really difficult to prove. And you'd want to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt that this person committed a crime. We're 1 minute 37 seconds into a 2 minute 30-second video, and we haven't heard any proof. So let's keep going.
We're back at the house trying to finish their work, which has been a crime scene all these weeks, but that work put on hold with news of today's arrest. Police not talking about motive today, although given how close the murder scene is to where Kohlberger was attending classes, they want to know if he had a connection to one or more of the victims.
As this case goes to trial, that will be brought forth.
It was 3 a.m. in the Poconos. Police moved in and made the arrest. One friend who used to jog with Kohlberger, stunned.
I would have never thought something like this would be accused of him.
The suspect was taken to the local courthouse, where he was ordered held without bail.
The only thing weird is I noticed he's not crying. I mean, I'll be honest. If somebody just showed up and said right wing Rico, and I'm like, yes, sir, they're like, you're being accused of 4 people in some random house 10, 20 minutes away from where you live. And because you live 10 minutes away, and even though you're not the only person that lives 10 minutes away, it's just something about you. I don't know. I got a feeling. I got a feeling. Because I haven't heard, look at it. There's only 15 seconds left in this video. But I would be sad. I'll be looking confused as fuck. This guy's staring in the camera like, what? So is that why they're thinking he's a psycho? Because he's like, he doesn't seem to be flustered or surprised? I don't know.
The mom of one of the victims saying the arrest is a huge relief amid ongoing grief. Idaho police today said they are seeking to get Kohlberger back as soon as next week to appear in court there. For now, he remains behind bars in Pennsylvania, with his next court hearing there set for Tuesday.
They have nothing. Nothing. What's DNA? They found semen, they found hair, they found saliva. They have, see, there's nothing. They have zero, they have no evidence. Okay, did they find the knife?
You've had a chance to look over these court documents today. In digging into them, what I noticed that there's no motive, no why, no information about how these victims might have been targeted. How important is that information for a success?
Holy shit. Christmas Eve, and we're already cracking cases and we're already doing this. He just said the exact same thing I said. Why is logic? Why is just being a regular person who's just looking at things from a what's the word? Pragmatic point of view? Why is that controversial? Why am I the oddball out? Why isn't everybody saying the same thing and asking about this? Why? Why isn't everybody noticing that there's nothing there? It's a nothing. It's like it's a nothing burger. I guess maybe because I'm right wing. I'm just not in my feelings and saying, oh man, he feels like what? Why? What do you mean he feels? What can you prove? There's no proof. Let's go over this. And this is a year old, so that means the trial's already going on. Probably. Let's see.
Prosecution, Coy.
You never have to know why it happened. You just have to show that it happened. I mean,
don't why matter when it? Don't you need motive? Okay, let's go.
Everybody wants to know why, and the link between this guy and the victims, and maybe it'll come out in the future, but it's not necessary for a successful prosecution.
When you look at this case compared to the hundreds of homicides you worked successfully, what stands out to you in looking at the process they went through?
Well, first of all, this is a very small department that had no experience in anything like this. It was way outside their wheelhouse.
Then the odds of incompetence increase. No experience outside their realm of expertise, but it wasn't between different states. So I guess the feds aren't involved, but it's 4 people. He did travel across state lines, so the feds could have got involved. They have more resources, but it doesn't seem like they care about evidence or resources. They just want to convict somebody. That's what this guy sounds like. Certain things don't matter. Shouldn't everything matter? Shouldn't you want to know? Shouldn't you want to make sure you're prosecuting the right guy? Or you just want to make him your new OJ?
But, they did what people should do when you have something, a task like this that you think over your head, they reached out for help, and they did. And from reading the affidavit, it looks like they did a really good job. It sounds like they identified this guy potentially very early in this case. I'm sure it was very frustrating for the detectives not to hear people say, you guys are screwing this case up, when they knew who probably did it really early on. And then they did the due diligence.
They didn't know shit, because if they did, it would have got him off the streets. How do you think you knew who he was early on? That means you knew who he was before you arrested him. You didn't arrest him for almost 2 months. So you let a guy who's just breaking in the house and killing young college students, mainly women, 3 women and 1 guy. You're just leaving them just to stay out there and still commit crimes. I mean, still commit murder? So get the fuck out of here. They didn't know shit.
That you have to do to get this guy in the end.
You know, some of the things we're learning, like they found the sheath to the knife. This guy was supposed to be have a lot of information, a degree in criminology. He seemed like a moron to me, like he did not have this well planned out. But you have interviewed killers face to face, Coy, numerous times. What do you think about this guy?
Well, you know, it's like they say when people go into battle, you make all these plans and in the war, but when it starts, everything goes out the window, right? Because it's chaos, and he wasn't prepared for the amount of chaos in this case, and he did something stupid. He left the sheath to the knife right there. I mean, thank you very much. We'll take that, and they were eventually able to get the DNA profile off the button to the sheath, which of course wasn't in CODIS. But they did have a male DNA profile that shouldn't have been there, and that was huge.
Let's talk about that DNA and the genealogy. They said that they got DNA from the trash at the house where his father lived and used that to match back to him. Is this how homicides are worked these days?
Yeah, absolutely. What they did, this is what's called YSTR DNA. The Y chromosome passes down from all the males in the.
So you mean to tell me no weapon, no blood on any of his clothing was found, none of his fingerprints, no semen, no saliva. Just you think he touched the button on a knife sheath and you had to go dig in the trash can, but he has DNA all over his body, his clothes. You search in his apartment, in his car. Nothing was found, but you're digging through the trash at his parents' house and you're able to get some DNA off. This sounds extra. Maybe I'm novice. Maybe I'm dead wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not right about everything. I'm right about some things, but other things I question. Am I losing my mind here, or does none of this sound like it makes tons of sense? No knife, no blood, no bloody clothes. That's a lot of people to stab. He didn't shoot him. So that means he's up close and personal with 4 people. And you mean to tell me you couldn't get any physical evidence from him? You have to use some circumstantial, finding his DNA at the scene, no confession, no camera footage, nobody heard anything. It's not a repeat offender. It's not like he went and did this to somebody else and got caught. They're saying a person broke into the house in the area, bushy eyebrows and a mask on with a knife, and a person kicked them. But he's been cleared of that because he wasn't in town. It sounds to me like there's still somebody who's a murderer on the loose in that city, and these people should be really on alert because this trial is nonsense. I mean, this person could be just traveling doing this. Yeah, the guy's not crying in the pictures. Maybe he's just not a guy that scares easy, but he has no history of doing anything like this. No history of mutilating animals from what I hear. There's nothing in his background that says that he's just a professional killer of 4 people. Let's keep going.
Family. So male to father to son, son to grandson, grandson to great-grandson. It's the same YSTR all the way down. So they had this DNA, and they could show that he was of the same YSTR as the father at the house, which is huge. That means it has to be a male directly related to that father. And of course, this is the guy who was.
So there's no other family members that this could have been happened to. He doesn't have a relative that somebody doesn't know about from a out of wedlock. It could have. There are so many different scenarios where what he just said could make sense. This doesn't. This means that whoever the killer is just related to the father in the house. That's all that means. And you're parading this man around TV like you caught a killer. That's all you have.
in Idaho at the time, and they had the car surveillance and stuff. So that was the key, the YSTR. I mean, male relative of the father using the YSTR, or the Y chromosome. He's a direct relative, which it said the affidavit eliminates 99.9% of the population. So that's a very good lead.
I've seen.
Doesn't sound like a good lead to me. It sounds like this guy's being railroaded. But because he's a straight white male, anybody will believe anything about him, because we're in a culture where that's actually the wave right now.
People on Facebook compare this guy to a Ted Bundy. Do you think he was a budding Ted Bundy? Maybe Ted Bundy would have been caught thanks to the DNA we have today. What do you think about this guy?
Well, I certainly think Ted Bundy would have been caught because of the forensics today, but I don't buy that this guy's a Ted Bundy. I mean, he's that grandiose kind of I don't want to say nut, because he's not psychotic, but he's an odd duck, and he planned to do this for whatever reason. Would he have done others later? Maybe. I don't know. But you can't call a guy a serial killer when there's a series of one. So I don't buy into the whole he's enough.
Same thing I said. But I'm noticing something too. This is a comment from my girl Darby. There are 2 unsolved stabbings in the Washington area. The first was a 71-year-old woman. So another woman. Because there was 3 out of 4 of these people were women in this with Kohlberger. So they say. A 70-year-old woman was stabbed in her sleep. She was found dead in her bed. The second was a married couple. They were also attacked in their sleep by a man and stabbed. The husband died at the hospital, and the wife was hospitalized but managed to survive. Both murders were done on the 13th of the month, like the Moscow murders. Both of the murders were stabbings and were committed within a 70-mile radius of the Kohlberger's apartment. Do you know how far 70 miles is? And listen, everyone's just going off with, well, it must be Kohlberger. So, well, it might be him. And it seems like he wanted more and more of a challenge, starting with an old woman to a couple to 4 young. Get the fuck. That doesn't even, you know how much of a jump? That's such a reach. Is this what all criminal justice is? Is just reaching? Everything's just a reach? Damn, all on the 13th. Good work. I bet they're all him. He worked his way up. He probably wasn't even living in the area at the time. He had just moved there to go to school. I agree that he may have done the other killings. He was stepping up each kill, 1, 2, and maybe he got to the 3 like he wanted. And he didn't expect Ethan to be there. Speculation here. At least you're being honest that you're speculating. I was just looking into it too. Did the surviving wife had a subscription at any time? I hope the police collect something they can test now. 71-year-old woman was stabbed in her bed. I don't think that was his first at all. No way. What are the name of those cases? Yeah. Sandra Ladd from Washington, and the couple was Travis and Jamilin Jutin. She survived with 19 stab wounds. Yeah. That boy ain't right. Finished. A guy with no BS, speaking frankly, accurately, just asked questions, great responses to the question very well. Both guy, refreshing, well jump. Outstanding police work. Where? They just want somebody to. What are these people talk? Am I losing my mind?
Ted Bundy thing. Although, like I said, Ted Bundy admitted crimes today, he wouldn't have gotten nearly as far because of the advances in forensic science.
Floyd, if you were working this case, would you now be looking at other unsolved homicides in the area? And let me ask this more directly. Do you think it's possible he's already killed somebody prior to the quadruple homicides?
It is possible. Yes, I would do that. I don't necessarily believe it is a fact. I think he was building up to this point, and that's why he was, these guys, if they're serial killers,
okay, what about the fact that, like they said, he had just started school there? He had only been in town for what they say. Let's see here. Let's look it up. How long has he been living in Idaho? See, him and his father had drove. He was only there for the semester. Let's see here. This is from 2022. Okay. Let me see. I'm seeing if there's anything, because in that one video, they're saying that he had just moved to, he had just been back. He'd been there for 5 weeks. So now they're trying to piece him with murders that happened before. Oh, that's what it was. And the initial one right here. So I heard my door. So this is when someone's saying that someone tried to break into their house in October 2021, a guy with a knife. So newly released body cam video shows police responding to an alleged home invasion, which took place October 21st. So these other murders happened in 2022. This happened in 2021, in October 2021, in Pullman, Washington, over a year before and 10 miles away from our 4 Idaho students were fatally stabbed. Okay, we talked about that earlier. She said the suspect had bushy eyebrows. On November 2022 is when the 4 people were stabbed. Kohlberger was arrested weeks later in Pennsylvania. 28-year-old suspect. Okay, let's see. How long did it say? They were eerily similar. Kohlberger's height does not match. Also, Kohlberg was not yet enrolled at Washington State University at the time of the break-in, which was, so that means he wasn't even living in there. He wasn't living in that area in October of 2021. This is 2022. Yeah, so this is a short time later. So he was only living there for so long. He was only living there for X amount of months, but yet everyone's just assuming that he's only been there for, it looks like, let's see here. Let's be accurate. These killings, this is from October of 2021. The murders happened on $10 months later on November 13th. So October to the November the next year. So that's 11 months. So almost a year. Almost. So basically 1 year of being in this area. And they're trying to piece crimes together from all over. So that's only 2021 to 2022. And they're trying to basically pin everything they can find in that time period on this one guy. You know what that tells me? They're not looking at anyone else. They're not looking for anyone else. They're focused on this one guy because they were getting embarrassed that they had an unsolved murder of 4 in the area. Unbelievable.
They usually get better as they go because they have experience. This reads to me like a rookie the first time, leaving the knife sheath there. What a huge thing. Why wouldn't you have that knife sheath on your belt so you couldn't possibly leave it there? You know, that's the thing. These are rookie mistakes. And like the father, I think, said, this guy made a huge mistake. It's going to get him before he's arrested. And he was exactly right. That's what this guy did. So I would do my due diligence, but I don't believe there are any other cases that are going to detect this guy.
If you were working with the FBI profilers and
the comments beg to differ. These all people are talking about other crimes in the area. So I guess he didn't get the update.
putting a profile on this guy, would you say he's a narcissist, a sociopath? a spree killer? What do you think, Lloyd?
Well, he's certainly a narcissist, I believe, based on stuff I've read about his behavior. And I'm actually friends with someone who taught him at one point, and I can't really get into that. But he is a narcissist, and he is. I don't know enough to know about him if he's a sociopath or a psychopath. But yeah, the boy.
Everybody just says the same. Everyone just says the same trigger words to get you to go along with them. They call someone a narcissist. I'm surprised they didn't call him a racist or an anti-Semite. Maybe that's on the horizon. Maybe, maybe in trial they're going to call him an anti-Semite and a racist.
Yeah, that's a great way to put that. You know, for the public, it seemed like it was a long time, but homicide investigations in the scheme of things, this really wasn't. But there was a lot of pressure on the department. Put it in perspective through your career. Did it take too long to get to this point in justice? Does that really matter anymore?
It didn't take too long, and it doesn't matter as much as it used to because of the forensic abilities we used to have. I mean, I think this was for us no information case taken 6 weeks. It's a win. I mean, that's not outrageous. The problem is they were under such pressure, and what they could learn from this is how to handle that pressure.
It sounds more like they were more interested in getting a win than getting it right. They're more worried about the press than the accuracy. They care more about the negative press than they do about the accuracy. That's not good. I'll be honest. I used to not believe this, but now I'm starting to believe that maybe there are a lot of men in jail that are innocent. Maybe there's a lot of people in prison that are innocent and they were railroaded. I used to didn't believe that. I just think, if you did it, you got caught. Or, a lot of people, they say they're innocent. Everyone says they're innocent. But because I know people that lie a lot and they're liars. But what if I'm wrong? What if there are a lot of innocent people that are in jail and they were just railroaded because it was bad press and they needed to throw somebody under the bus? Because this is scary. Look at these comments. Look what they're saying. This guy is there for 11 months and they're putting him. I think the guy just wanted to kill. He was seeking information from criminals on how these select victims, they select people where they're victims. So it looks like if somebody was trying to frame this guy, it's somebody that disliked him or knew him from school. And when it comes to these type of cases, just like with Maggiano, once this gets in front of a jury, with a lack of evidence, I don't see it I see getting a conviction for these murders being very difficult because there's a lack of evidence. But it's like, are these people just doing this just to waste the court's time and get the public opinion and get the public's eyes off of looking for the actual person? Are these people just throwing themselves in there knowing they're not going to be convicted since they didn't really do it? And they're just doing this on purpose to waste time for somebody else? This guy tells it straight. No, he doesn't. He had zero neat insight. What are these people talking about? What neat insight? I didn't hear anything neat or insightful. Or anybody could have just said that. They could have got a homeless person just to make up some nonsense. It's not like he gave anything that was groundbreaking or, again, no proof directly saying a sheet where there was DNA that say he was related to this one guy that is his father. That's not blood. That's not evidence. That's not a video. You mean to tell me with all the cameras on the road, there's no video of him leaving that side of town, being out that night, coming home? What about the interview? Did he say he was out that night and the story's not adding up and that's why you're prosecuting him? Like, what?
And not release. I commented early in this case. I thought they were releasing way too much information. If this was my case, I wouldn't want any of this stuff out. Because you have to leave something out there so that some nutcase doesn't try to confess to it and tell you something he read in the paper, which happens every now and then. But overall, I mean, for a 35-man department, they did a great job. I mean, I got to give them kudos.
Retired Seattle homicide detective Boyd Stockard, thank you for your time.
We learned nothing. Nothing at all. We just learned that they basically got this guy off of the streets because of the pressure, because bad press and pressure from families to hurry up and make an arrest. He doesn't seem sad in these pictures. Maybe a little nervous and anxious, but he's not making a lot of noise behind bars. But this is 2 years ago. Where is this case at now? This is from 2 years ago. So, well, I don't know. This was posted today. He was investigated for another. How's his trial going? When is his trial? Let's look it up. Kohlberger trial. August 2025. Good luck going to trial with zero fucking evidence. There's no, you couldn't even find them. You couldn't find any cuts on his hands. No, no blood on any of his shoes or clothes. No clothes missing. Nothing that would say this guy absolutely did this. This is laughable. Why would you even take this to trial in the first place? It doesn't even seem like it makes any sense. Am I crazy? Am I missing something here? It seems like everything is missing. Like there's nothing there. We just went over the videos. We just went over the evidence. A night's sleep. That's it. And it was not blood or urine or spit or semen. Just DNA on him showed he's related to somebody that's related to the guy's dad. This scares the shit out of me because why in the hell am I the only person in those comments noticing that none of this shit adds up or makes any sense? That's weird. This has been good reading the news to you guys. I'm not sure, but look, follow my page. I don't think I can even really do much unless I have more followers. I don't know if I can go live or advertise or market. We do have a sponsor. It's cosigning.com. If you need a apartment that you're trying to rent, but you don't have a friend or a family member willing to be your cosigner, you can go to cosigning.com. They'll match you with a qualified cosigner and help you get the apartment of your dreams, and you can have your rental. So visit www.cosigning.com today for more information. And after a short ad read, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream. And I'm going to bring up some more topics. I'll be back on in about an hour. I just want to see how this goes. But yeah, like and follow and subscribe or whatever you want to do if you want to hear more. But we'll be back on talking all day today. So it's no big deal. I'll be back. Thank you. I don't have an outro video, by the way.